Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What if you had the opportunity to get your hands on a hot new release, a book about a murder mystery that is going to be mind-blowing? Well, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about that today with a special author and a new release that's coming up. Welcome to That's What She Said with Maria Gallucci. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and we're thrilled to have you here today for this episode number 5. Let's welcome the star of our show, Maria Gallucci, who is in the top 1.5% of realtors and is also the author of Raised in Silence and speaks fluent sign language. Welcome to your program, Maria. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for introducing me.
Absolutely. Well, welcome back to this episode. I want to thank Mickey Mickelson and Creative Edge for referring you to us and also our fabulous guest, Dwayne, today. So, Maria, what's the feedback been that you've been getting about That's What She Said?
I've been getting a lot of good feedback. Everyone likes the perspective and things like that of the show and how we can just talk about different stuff during the show.
Fantastic. So before we bring out the guest, what is it you're reading?
I am reading The Coworker by Frida McFadden. I love murder mystery stuff.
I do too. It's actually my favorite genre. I can't get enough of it. You know, what's so funny is that we see things on mainstream television, right, about murders, and we're horrified. Meanwhile, we can't wait to pick up a book and read about it. We can't even put it down. It's an interesting dichotomy, isn't it?
I know, because I've literally read books like overnight, because you don't want to put it down because you keep reading, and then so I've literally started a book in the evening and then finished it all the way till 1 or 2 in the morning.
Well, we're going to find out from Dwayne Brenna about this new book that is coming out soon, and also what it takes for books to go from being in the book format to audio format to maybe even being on the big screen or maybe being a television series.
Yeah, that would be great. It's always such a progress and a process.
Fantastic. Well, I'll let you introduce our fabulous guest.
So today is a great author who does also do murder mystery named Dwayne Brenna.
All right, let's bring Dwayne out. Hello, Dwayne. Thanks for being here.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we were talking just at the start of the show. I was just teeing up the idea of getting our hands on another exciting book. So tell us about this new book that you have coming out.
Well, it's a book called The Laundryman. It's a murder mystery. It's set in the year 1884, and it starts with 2 Northwest mounted policemen riding toward Prince Albert Settlement to solve the murder of a laundryman. 1884 is a particularly interesting time in my country, in my province. It's the year before the only civil war that was ever fought in Canada. Was fought not very far from where I'm sitting right now. So it was a time of great unrest in the Canadian Northwest. It was a time just before the railroad arrived here, and telegraph was just starting to show up. The major route into what is now Saskatchewan was a river, the Saskatchewan River. And so Prince Albert, which is an actual real town, not far from where I'm sitting, was on that route, was on that river, and was one of the thriving metropolises of Saskatchewan at the time. I think the people of Prince Albert had every right to think that they would be the capital city of the province eventually, which did not happen. But that's generally the story. It's two mounted policemen, one a surgeon who is young and kind of fresh-faced. He has the desire to preserve life, and his partner is a cranky older Mountie who has no problem with violence and no problem with taking life if that's necessary. So there's a clash of values right away in the two characters. And in fact, I started the novel with those two characters. I didn't, I do plot novels, but part of it is kind of seat of the pantsing. I like to let the characters decide where they're going in a particular novel. And in this case, I just started with two characters who had conflicting values and who had to solve a murder. Of course, I knew at the same time who the villain was, how the murder was committed. And I had some ideas of how this character might be caught. But by and large, I let the characters, those two Mounties, take their own path. One of them falls in love with the landlady that they're staying with in Prince Albert once they get there. So there's a bit of a love story in all of this as well. But by and large, a murder mystery. It's also a Western of sorts, although it's not set in the American West. It's set in the Canadian West, and it's set in the middle of winter. So this was one thing that I really wanted to explore is, how to write a Western novel that's set in the frozen outback of the Canadian North, right through wintertime. So these characters are always shuffling their feet and blowing on their fingertips to keep warm.
Dwayne, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really fascinating. Maria, I don't know about you, but I don't know what a laundryman is. Do you, Maria?
No, I don't either. I was wondering that. I was going to ask that. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. Well, maybe you could briefly tell us.
Yes, absolutely. A laundryman is a fellow who runs a laundry, a public laundry in a town like Prince Albert. In 1884, he would have a huge vat of hot water and soap, and he would clean your clothes for you. You would bring your clothing in just as you would to a dry cleaner today. And he would.
I was wondering if that's what it was. If it was like an actual laundryman. Where do you get your ideas from for this book? Were you driving by a laundry like Matt or?
No, I mean the laundry, is just an idea that popped into my head. But some of the characters, have antecedents in other real life people. I was doing research. In my other life, I was a drama professor, and I was doing research on Northwest Mounted Police theatricals. And I came across a character named R.B. Nevitt, a real life Mountie, who had no connection with Prince Albert, but he was a surgeon. And he also painted scenery for theatricals that the Mounties would put on back in the 1890s, in his case. He was also a painter, and some of his paintings are still around, and some of them have been categorized in a book. the paintings of R.B. Nevitt. He he was an interesting character. I researched him at the Glenbow Archives in Calgary. He had a long-standing love affair with a woman from the East, and he was in fact engaged to be married to her. And he decided, nevertheless, to come out to Alberta at the time and to work as a surgeon for the Mounties. And after 4 years, he fell in love with the Canadian West, and he signed on for another 4-year period. After which, all the letters that he had written to this woman and the letters that she had written back, that all stopped. For 4 years of his life, there were no more letters, and the engagement was off between these two people. And I did a little bit more research about him and found out that after an 8-year period, he went back to Toronto and found this woman. She was still unmarried, married her, and became a professor at the University of Toronto's medical school. So that was R.B. Nevitt. And that's kind of the inspiration for my surgeon, Montgomery, who's also a cultured man. In this case, he's a child of the Civil War. He grew up in Vermont, as in fact R.B. Nevitt was a child of the Civil War. Grew up in Vermont, but was sent north to McGill University to study medicine, and fell in love with a woman. And he has, Montgomery, my surgeon, has a long-standing series of letters back and forth between himself and his fiancée. So there's that love story in there as well. But that's basically the inspiration for one of the characters in the novel. His partner, Belvedere, who's the crusty older Mountie, has no real historical precedent, but there was a mounted policeman in my hometown when I grew up who was a giant of a man, and I often thought of him as I was writing Belvedere. This Mountie was also he had a reputation. I liked him. I knew him and liked him. I played baseball with him, in fact. But he had a reputation for being horribly violent if things went south on him. So,
Dwayne, I love that you're so passionate about your work. It obviously comes through. And the interesting thing is that the three of us are actually authors here today. And I think each of us has a different journey. So I think Maria and I would be very interested to hear how it is you got started into going down this path.
Oh, well, thank you. I started writing in high school. I had a high school teacher whose name was Terry Chamberlain. So a shout out to Terry, who's still around, and he was very good. And I was not good at anything else. I don't think anybody was going to make me a wonderful mathematician or anything like that. So he encouraged me. Right out of high school, I published my first story, which was it was a nonfiction piece. I just wrote a piece about about a buddy of mine who used to hang glide behind a skidoo in the wintertime. He would be pulled up on skis by this skidoo, and he would fly through the air doing that. And so I wrote this piece, and I sent it to a magazine in Saskatchewan that's still running. It's called The Western Producer. And the editor actually asked me to come in to meet him. So I drove in, which was it was a 120-mile drive to come and meet this man. His name was Rusty McDonald, and I sat at his desk, in front of his desk, and he interviewed me. And he said, "So you want to be a writer?" And I said, yeah, I really do. And he said, "Well, if I was your age and I wanted to be a writer," he said, I think I'd go to Hollywood and I'd try to write for the Beverly Hillbillies. and I thought, I don't know whether Rusty McDonald thought I was a writer or a hillbilly. He might have thought both of those things, but that was his idea. I never did that. I ended up doing 2 degrees in English at the University of Saskatchewan, and after which I sent a story to several universities, and Hollins College in Virginia offered me a scholarship to go to a creative writing program there. But 2 things happened. One was that the scholarship wasn't nearly enough to cover my expenses. And the other was I'd gotten involved in a drama group, and I started to get more and more interested in the theater and as an actor. And so 2-3 years after that, I had a job at the Stratford Festival here in Canada, acting in Shakespeare plays. And 5 years after that, I was teaching in a drama department at the University of Saskatchewan, which was my alma mater. But I never did go to Hollins College. I kept writing, however, through that period. I had a series of radio vignettes called The Adventures of Eddie Gustafson, which was based on a small town handyman in my hometown. And it became quite popular for a 5-year period on CBC radio here in the Canadian West.
I think
So
it's
that was
amazing, like the stuff that we go through, especially being a child, because you knew in high school that you wanted to be a writer, and what different schooling it takes you. What do you think the best writing advice that you ever received, especially as a young person just starting out?
I think just to sit down and do it
Yeah.
is the main thing, and to carve out 3 hours in your day. Well, I wouldn't say 3 hours if you're starting out, probably an hour and a half in the morning, before you go to work. I always write in the mornings, and to find a space where you're comfortable and can do that. I tend to write in the same room in my house. It's not this room, but the same room in my house every day. I think too, I would advise anybody who wants to be a writer to take either an English degree or a creative writing degree. That would be very helpful. I've found my creative writing classes very helpful. I wish I'd taken more history when I was in high school and university, because I've found that writing about history has really been a passion of mine. So I wish I had taken more history classes. And in fact, there's a really wonderful writer here in Saskatchewan named Guy Vanderhaeg, who also writes historical novels. And I don't think he ever took an English degree, but his degrees were all in history.
Yeah, exactly. I was not very good in history at all. like the philosophy of that. But I think that a lot of people watching have an idea for a book, because mine took 15 years in the making. And so, but I think that what separates like someone's dream and from writing to someone who actually finishes the book.
I agree with that. I tend to start a manuscript and not to revise too much until it's finished. Sometimes you can get bogged down in revisions. And in fact, what usually happens to me, because I write, well, I wouldn't say horribly quickly, but I write quickly, is that generally I find myself at the end of the novel going back and rewriting the beginning of the novel. But if you do that too early in the process, you start second guessing yourself. So my theory, like yours, Maria, is just to get it all down on paper and go from there. Once it's down, you've got something, you've got a product, and you can start to work on it. You can start to massage it. So that's the way I work as well.
And I think like the craft of writing, people see the finished book, but they don't always see what happens like behind the scenes, because there is a lot. Because I kept rethinking, like, I need to change this. I still do that with emails and texts. I rewrite again and again. I'm like, okay, I just have to like finish it.
Yes, yes. I think writing is rewriting, and I'm the same way. The Laundryman was a rather quick book for me. I think it took me about a year and a half to write. It's a joy, but it's a novel, and so writing novels is different. The book before this was a book of short stories called Theories of Everything, also published by Shadowpaw Press. And there's, I like the book a lot, and I like short stories. I like writing them. I like reading them. But they're a different kettle of fish than a novel. In a short story, you can generally finish a draft in a week or less of a short story. In a novel, you're looking at a much longer timeline. And what I do find about novels, because they're so massive, is that you get to the middle of it, and there's a sort of a muddle that happens in there, and you have to work your way through that muddle. You've developed the characters, you've got the story, the plot line going, but then the issue is all sorts of other things come up. So, where are these characters going? What happens when I bring this new character into the situation? What happens when Belvedere meets his landlady, and things start to develop in that direction? So that gets to be a bit of a muddle, and often what I find, it's both a joy and a challenge, but what I find is that I haven't planned all of that yet, and I have to start really thinking out where these characters are heading, because one wrong turn
I know, exactly.
you can be going to places that you never
That
planned to
places you're
go
not
to.
supposed to be there. Do you feel like you're your own worst critic?
No. I belong to a writers group, and they're a far worse critic of me than I am. I think I tend to write a chapter and think, God, that's the best thing I've ever seen, until I take it to my writers group and they tear it apart. These writers that I'm in a group with are quite accomplished writers. I don't imagine you've maybe heard of them, but David Carpenter, David Margoshes, Sharon Butella are in terms of Western Canadian writers among the upper echelon of those writers. So they don't hold back. They tell me exactly what they think. I have to say, I do like that, because, if they think something, a reader is going to think that too. And I would rather hear it from them than wait and hear it from the critics.
Yeah, exactly.
So they do give me a lot of good advice, and I do make a lot of changes to my stuff after we meet about once a month, and after hearing their criticisms, I go back and change things. I think part of being a writer, and this is also advice I'd give to a young writer, is find an audience, even if that audience is 3 people. As it is for me, the writers group that I belong to, find that audience and get their feedback on your work, because you can, and I've seen this happen, you can work in a vacuum, and the results are not often good when that happens.
I know, and I feel like I think having people's advice and having a collaboration, I think it helps so much, because it gives you different perspective of the thing. And I've always wondered what was the biggest misconception that a lot of people have for writing. What advice would you give them for that?
Oh, the biggest misconceptions are probably that you're going to make $1 million doing it. I think it happens to some people, not to me so far.
I thought that. I'm like, wait, no, they don't make anything, like barely anything on these.
No, it's you have to do it for love, and
Mhm.
I've never lost money. I've made money. I've made money on my books, but what I find is I had to learn how to love the process. And some people say to me, like friends of mine who aren't writers, why would you sit down and write a book? To them that's the third ring of hell. But to me, I enjoy it. I find it kind of therapeutic, in fact, to sit down and tell my stories. I think Freud talked about the talking cure. Part of that is getting out what's inside you. And that's what I've done. I feel, I won't say it's always cathartic in the Freudian sense to write a novel, but I do feel best on the days that I have written. If I have a day when things aren't going well with the writing, I tend to feel unhappy. And so
Yeah, it's like painting, like painting for people is therapeutic for that. And then I think that once like and you always are like, how do you know when like a project is finished, because you have two different types of books, and so when do you feel like, okay, that this is done, I can stop changing stuff in there?
Yeah, well, I guess the short answer to that is when it's in book form and it's published,
When
then
you
I know it.
and it's done. I
Then
can't
I
make
know
any
it's
changes now.
I know it's finished. Then I mean, with The Laundryman, which I have right here, it went through several drafts. I wrote a draft of it. Then I went to a writers' conference in Colorado, and I met a New York agent at this conference, and he read the manuscript, and he said, "I think you should do this and this and this to it." And so I went back and rewrote it, and I really liked his advice, by the way. And then, of course, my writers group had their own ideas, and then my editor with the Shadowpaw Press had his ideas too. So changes do not stop until the book hits the press, is what
Exactly.
I find.
Do you remember his advice, the one from Colorado?
Yeah, well, he wanted it longer. I had
You
written
went along.
I'd written a 60,000 word novel, which is novel length. But for the commercial market, you want it to be about 85,000 words. He did give some indication that he wanted my character Belvedere to be more developed. And so I went back and worked on that character as well. Largely worked on his backstory, and he has an interesting backstory. I mean, there has to be a reason why a violent man is so violent,
Mhm.
and he has his reasons. And so that backstory really came out after dealing with that agent.
And you have the backstory in the book too.
It is. It's there, and it's partly it's shielded in mystery, but it comes out also, and probably in a more forthcoming way in the sequel, Wolverine Creek, which will be coming out in February next year. His backstory becomes very important in that too. So yeah, that was the advice I was given.
Oh, sorry. How many books are you planning to do in the series? Do you know yet?
So far, just the two.
Just the two.
Yeah, when I wrote The Laundryman, I really liked it. I liked the characters, and before it was even published, I started working on a sequel, which is a little dangerous because you can spend a year or two on a sequel that nobody wants. So, but I was very fortunate. The same publisher, the sales of The Laundryman have been pretty good, and so this same publisher got in touch with me and said, "Yeah, I'd like to do the sequel." Actually, he announced it at the book launch for The Laundryman. He said to the audience, and I didn't even know that he was considering this, but well,
you're like, uh-oh, I got to do something now.
He was close to it, but he said, yeah, we're doing this sequel. It's going to be called Wolverine Creek. I told him that I was working on this. And yeah, so it was a nice, happy surprise, but more work for me.
Exactly. Is that a real place, Wolverine Creek?
It is. Wolverine Creek is that novel is set in the summertime. So the characters are dealing with horseflies and mosquitoes instead of snowstorms, but they're there to solve a missing persons case. And Wolverine Creek is a place near what is now Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and it's the place where the Canadian troops mustered when they came to fight the rebellion, the 1885 rebellion. So it has an interesting history. It's a little known place in Saskatchewan anymore, but you can still go there. There's a remnant of the old telegraph line that ran through Wolverine Creek still there. Somebody's gone to the trouble of putting some frames of buildings up so that you get a sense of what the two buildings at Wolverine Creek would have looked like. One was a telegraph station, and the other was just a house that was given out to Mounties as they went through the town and so forth.
So I have a fun question about that.
Yeah.
If you were walking through, would you rather be in the first book or the sequel book, the area and the time of year?
Oh, well, I'm a summertime guy, so I do.
I do not like winter.
I do like the summer in Saskatchewan. It's right now 31 degrees here where I'm sitting in this place. So it's warm as it would be in most places in the United States right now. But in January in Saskatchewan, it's not uncommon to reach 31 degrees below zero, which is a little cold for me. My ancestors are all from Norway, so I should be used to the cold. I was just there visiting some of my relatives about 2 months ago. But yeah, the other thing about, by the way, 1884, which I didn't mention earlier, and one of the reasons I got very interested once I started to think about 1884 was that my grandfather was born in that year. And I had the benefit. My kids think I'm very old when I tell them this, but I had the benefit of working with my grandfather on the family farm until I was 15 years old when he passed away. And he was just a lovely man, just a great guy. And when I started to think about the time period, I was interested in finding out what the situation that he was born into was. What was that life like? And how much did it change, by the time I was sitting in a half-ton truck with him, waiting for my dad to come around the field with a combine, listening to the radio. His life had changed so much from, what he grew up with. And I was interested in that. And I also think that, historical fiction should have something for the present day, should have some meaning in the present day. And in the case of The Laundryman, there's all sorts of statements about racism, about policing in what was then the new Northwest. So these things, part of what the novel does is tells us, or shows us rather, how we got into the present moment, how we're at the moment we're at now. And it starts, in 1884, just before that rebellion.
I love it. I love murder. My favorite, and I always grew up thinking I was going to be a writer of that, but I ended up being nonfiction. But so, and it always fascinates me to think of the mindset of the writer on how you make these characters and everything. So for you, you gave me such a good insight on this book, and the book sounds amazing. So I'm going to get it for sure. For people who are listening, where can they find you and where can they get your books?
Yeah, well, I'm at my website, which is dwaynebrenna.com, all lowercase, and you can see not just that book, but the 10 other books that I've published, and you can find details on how to pick them up. But they're available at a bookstore near you, or via Amazon, or what have you. I'm also I can be found at LinkedIn. My email address is dwayne.brenna@usask.ca. If there are any writers or readers out there that want to get in touch with me, they're welcome to do so. So that's how you can get a hold of me. Shadowpaw Press is my publisher for these books, and they also have a website and a lot of social media attached to that website. So please feel free to go to their website and see not just my books, but the many fine books that they publish.
Thank you so much. You've been actually an amazing guest. You've actually taught me stuff on my writing and advice. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, that's very kind of you, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Good day.
Good day.
Well, thank you so much for watching the show. Everybody try to get his book. The books sound amazing. And if anyone needs to get a hold of me, it's galluccihomes.com. And then my book is raisedinsilience.com. Have a good day.
Some people sell homes. Maria Gallucci helps people find connection, confidence, and a place to belong. As the broker-owner of Gallucci Homes and a Colorado real estate expert ranked among the top 1.5% of real estate professionals nationwide, Maria provides trusted guidance to buyers, sellers, investors, and builders throughout the Denver area and nationwide. But Maria's influence extends far beyond real estate. Raised by deaf parents, she is also fluent in American Sign Language. Her personal journey inspired her book, Raised in Silence, and her commitment to helping people feel seen, heard, and understood. Maria is also the television host of That's What She Said with Maria Gallucci on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, where she leads honest, meaningful conversations with women and guests from around the world. Author, television host, broker owner, advocate. Maria Gallucci brings experience, heart, and authentic communication to everything she does. Visit GallucciHomes.com and RaisedInSilence.com. Maria Gallucci, helping people find their voice, their connection, and their home.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by executive producer and director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.